Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a true American hero, Lieutenant Colonel Allen West.
Thanks so much. Thank you. How is everyone doing in Long Island? It's really hard for a southern boy from Georgia to make his mouth work right and say that. Hey, look, this is an important and a critical time. The fact that you are here tonight, it lets me know that you are concerned about the future. You're concerned about the legacy that you pass on to subsequent generations, because this is the challenge for each and every one of us. On September the 17th, 1787, when the ratification of our Constitution was over, and Benjamin Franklin walked out of the Constitution Hall, he was met by a Philadelphia socialite, a woman by the name of Mrs. Powell. And Mrs. Powell turned to him and said, "Well, doctor, what is it that we have? Do we have a republic or do we have a monarchy?" Franklin looked at her and said, very simple, "You have a republic if you can keep it." The fact of you being here tonight, you understand that you have a republic, and it is your responsibility to keep this republic, to keep it safe, and pass it on, because that is a part of our genetic code. That is a part of the DNA of being a United States American citizen. I heard that there were some preachers and a rabbi who were kind of taken aback at my being here on Long Island. I would not pretend to tell a preacher what to say in his pulpit, nor a rabbi. But this is what really we must understand. When someone says to me that they are upset about me being here because I said that the Democrat Party is creating a 21st century economic plantation in our inner city communities. Yes. I grew up in the inner city. Yes. I know what is happening in my community. The failure of progressive socialist economic policies are the reason why we cannot have an American dream for all Americans. What is going on in Detroit? What is going on in Chicago? What is going on in Philadelphia? What is going on in my neighborhood in Atlanta?
Genocide.
Thank you, sir. And they always have been running it. We must be proud. We must be resolute. We must be courageous in speaking the truth to those who refuse to want to hear the truth. And don't worry about them calling you names. I get called plenty of names. But the bottom line is this. At the end of the day, if you are able to look at yourself in the mirror and know that you maintained your character, know that you maintain your honor and your integrity, and you spoke the truth, then who cares about the name that they are calling you? What is happening in our country, where people who were once on full-time equivalent employment are now working 2 to 3 part-time jobs. You look at what is happening in our grocery stores, and Americans, middle-income Americans, families are struggling to fill up a grocery cart because of the rise in cost of food commodities, milk, eggs, meat, bread, whatever you name it. Well, it's because our government realizes that these economic policies are failing. So they have to print money to try to have an artificial economy. And you all know what happens when you print your own money. It devalues your dollar, and it raises the prices. And when you understand that wages are being depressed, we're putting our American citizens in such a harmful position. When you think about, look at the gasoline prices. And folks have forgotten that in January of 2009, the average price of gasoline in the United States of America was $1.89. Yeah. What is it today in Long Island? We cannot believe that that is the new normal. We cannot believe that we have something like the Keystone XL pipeline, and we refuse to do it because we have an intransigent ideologue that sits in the White House. America should be producing, America should be consuming, America should be exporting. is oil and natural gas and energy resources. That's the reason why Vladimir Putin is doing what he is doing to Europe by taking over Ukraine, because they're afraid of him shutting off the pipeline. If we had people that were focused on solutions, they would open up the pipelines, and they would be sending oil and natural gas to Europe and to all over, so that the despots, the dictators, the autocrats, and the theocrats would not hold us hostage, so we would not have to send our men and women over to foreign lands to try to protect them. We could have our own resources right here in the United States. You know, there are people in this country, they don't accept the challenge of Benjamin Franklin. They don't believe that we have a republic that we should keep. They don't even believe that we have a border that needs to be secure. They think that everyone from all over the world should be part of a dream. Well, guess what? Our children are part of a dream. The dream of America that we should pass on to them. And I'm sorry that people don't have the opportunity to be born and brought here to the United States of America, but it has to be about our children first, not any other children. And right here, in your neighborhoods, how many thousands of illegal immigrant children have been dumped into your schools? And where is your congressman speaking out about that? What does he say about the $761 million across the United States of America that it will cost to have these kids showing up in the schools? Where are they standing up for your children who have to go to school with people that have gray hair? Are you crazy? Some of these people, we can't even validate their ages. Some of these people, we can't even validate their medical history. All for a political agenda. We're exposing our American children to something that is deadly, not just for their health, but for their future and their education. This is why we have to change what is going on in Washington, D.C. And this is why you have great Americans that continue to honor their oath, like Steve Russell and Lee Zeldin. That's why they need to be there. But they need to be there for something even greater. We need to have more military conservatives. We need to have more veterans. 40 to 45 years ago, you had 73% of people on Capitol Hill that had worn a uniform, that had taken that special oath that says, I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And just like Lincoln said at Gettysburg, they were willing to make the last full measure of devotion to honor that oath. The people in Washington, D.C. take an oath and they could care less. We've got to change that and send people that honor that oath, honor their commitment to each and every one of you. Send people to Washington, D.C. that understand that ISIS, that ain't a JV team, brother. It's an enemy, and they need to be destroyed. They don't need to be managed. They don't need to be dealt with later. They don't need you to think about it while you're out playing golf. And let me tell you about some battlefield calculus. How is it that it would take the United States of America 3 years to kill 10,000 guys? In Desert Shield, Desert Storm, we wiped out Saddam's army in 96 hours. That's what happens when you don't have a commander-in-chief in the United States White House. Lee Zeldin's been on the battlefield. Steve Russell has been on the battlefield. And they will be on Armed Services Committee. They will be on the right type of committees to make sure we're not decimating our military forces. We have a United States Army that is now going to 1940s level. We have a United States Navy that is the smallest Navy since 1917. We have a United States Air Force that is the oldest and smallest fleet since we created the modern-day United States Air Force. And we have a United States Marine Corps that is at pre-World War I levels. How are we going to fight, secure, and defend ourselves against an enemy who has said that they're at war with us, an enemy who has beheaded 2 Americans in the last couple of weeks, and yet we have a president that sits around and says, on the greatest stage that the world has ever known, in the White House, that I have no plan. Well, we have a plan. The first plan is to take back the Senate, expand the majority in the House of Representatives, and when your butt is gone, Mr. President, we're going to get a conservative Republican in the White House. For my health tomorrow morning. Sergeant Tamarisi should be right here, but that's what happens when you don't have someone that believes in the military, someone who has never served. But when you look at Lee Zeldin's 2 daughters, that's why Lee Zeldin is running. Not just for his 2 daughters, but for your sons, for your daughters, for your grandchildren. That's why Lee Zeldin is running. That's why Steve Russell is running, because they realize that the oath of service that they took does not have a statute of limitations. And they are willing to continue to give you that last full measure of devotion, even out of uniform. That's why I'm here. I don't care about the name calling. I know that we're on the side of that which is right. And anytime they want to come out and protest or do all of these consternations, it's all because they know one simple thing. We instill fear in them. Amen. When they see that flag that says, "Don't tread on me," when they see the American flag, when they see you standing up for principle, when they see you standing up accepting the challenge of Benjamin Franklin that you will keep this republic, that makes them very afraid. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to each and every one of you the next congressman from New York's Congressional District Number 1. Major in the United States Army Reserve, state senator from the Empire State, my friend, a great American, Lee Zeldin.